Good afternoon.
Hello. Hi there.
And welcome to this Mothering Sundays edition of Women's LIK. We are so delighted to share this special day with all the mothers in the UK. I think the US have a different Mother's Day, don't they? But welcome to all the mummies and grandmummies and stepmummies and all of you who are doing that mothering thing and keeping the family together and somehow managing to make it all work. So really fantastic to have you all here. And we've got two brilliant guests who will shed a special light on motherhood from their own perspective. And we have a guest who talks about single motherhood, something I've experienced and no doubt lots of other women watching. And we have another guest who's going to talk about sleeping as you know, with your newborn, so new motherhood. So it's going to be a great show. Tune in and relax and enjoy. So first up, we have got Angela, another mother.
I am a mum as well, yes.
Before you go any further, we know we're going to bring our guest on, but can we have a quick catch up? What are you doing for Mother's Day before we bring our guest out?
Well, for me, after the show, I'm racing up to Leeds to go and spend some time with my daughter. My mum is having some time with my older brother, so and daughter-in-law as well. So they're looking after my mum. So I'm going to dash up to see my daughter. I haven't seen her for ages, so yeah, looking forward to that. Having a tea over there. So
have a good time. Have a really good time. What about you, Susie? Are you doing anything?
Today, yeah, my daughter's coming over. We're going to watch, we're going to have some food a bit later on, and then we're going to watch the Formula One. Got to be done. It's kind of it's a family thing in this time of year. We all watch the Grand Prix together on a Sunday.
It's such good fun, isn't it?
Like a ritual. And, you know, I am the one that jump up and down and scream on the sofa and just make a lot of noise.
Yeah, because I was watching Lewis Hamilton yesterday in the trials, and he was like 15th or something. I was watching with my son.
Yeah, the first time he hasn't got into the into Q1, into the qualifying, which is a bit weird. But the track,
they're saying about the car.
The track is really fast, and I don't think he feels comfortable. So,
Susie, I hope you don't drive like that on the road, though.
Well,
you've got to get where you're going, haven't you?
You know, I have a need for speed.
Well,
What are you up to?
For me, I've spent the morning with my mum. I've had breakfast with her already and my sister. And then I've spent, I'm with my son now and my daughter's coming over. So we're spending the day together. And then this afternoon, my mum doesn't know it, but where she's going for a meal with my brother, I'm going there for a drink. We're all turning up for a drink. She doesn't know that. So much. I was truly grateful.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I think it's a special day, and also for those whose mothers are no longer with us, like mine. I think it's good for us to always remember them and appreciate them. You know, they really do live on. It's fantastic, you know, in your children and in yourself. So thinking of all the mothers who have passed on, and all the daughters and granddaughters who are remembering them today.
Yeah, and even those who are surrogate mothers, or you know, standing in mothers, you're all appreciated and respected.
For sure,
I appreciate it. Okay, right. Shall we kick off with our first guest, Charmaine Walters?
Welcome, Charmaine. Can we have? Hey,
hello.
Hi. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you, ladies?
Good.
Thank you.
We're all good. Looking forward to today's show. So, Charmaine, welcome to Women's LIK. I'm just going to kick off and ask you just a few questions, just so that our listeners know a little bit more about you. You're the founder of Soundly Sleeping.
That's correct. Yeah.
I want to find out a little bit more about the business. So, tell us, how did get my words out. Founder of Sound. How did the business start? What was your journey kind of getting set up?
I started Soundly Sleeping in my head. It was initially started as a blog in 2014. And it came about because when I began my career, I started working as a nursery nurse. I was in childcare. And I was working in a day nursery and I was working in a baby room. And one of my co-workers at the time was doing like a little weekend jobs where she would go in and care for the babies of this family overnight. And so when she was telling me about it, she was like, you know, I do night nanny, and you know, it's just a little bit of way of me for me, you know, for me to make a bit of extra money. So the woman whose children she was caring for, basically thought it was actually a really good business idea, started a company, and I was one of her first night nannies, so to speak. So the idea behind the night nanny was basically to offer help and support to first-time mums, or any mums who have just given birth. And the idea was to offer parents respite overnight by taking over care of the baby so that they could catch up on sleep. And the night nanny would do feeds, nappy changes, burping, settling, wash and prepare bottles and stuff, and you know, have the baby ready to hand over to mum in the morning, sort of fed, dressed and kind of ready to go. And then I did that for about 23 years, and it kind of evolved into, for me, a blog where I could share what I'd learned over the years of working with parents, about how to help babies sleep, what normal sleep looked like, what to expect, what to do, what not to do. And then after many, many years of working nights, as you can imagine, sleep deprivation started to catch up with me. So I started to think about other ways in which I could still work with sleep, but still make money. And so I started to do sleep consulting, where I would sort of work with parents who were struggling with their baby sleep habits and help them find ways in which that they could change their little one's sleep habits in a way that were more manageable, i.e. get them sleeping through the night, or just make improvements so that parenting while in a sleep deprived state would be a little bit easier. So, and here we are in 2022. So I teach online classes, I do one-to-one consultants. I recently launched an online membership club as well for new and first-time parents, just so they could get an understanding of what normal sleep looks like, and how to steer babies and toddlers and preschoolers to sleeping through the night sooner rather than later.
Okay, so you go right up to preschool as well, which is great.
Yeah, I do.
Gosh, Charmaine, I wish you were around when I had mine. You know what? They're 25 and 18 now. And even while I was preparing for today, I was like thinking, what was it like with them when they were growing up? I don't remember it being that bad, but I do remember the sleep deprivation. But
yeah, everyone remembers the sleep deprivation, but we remember it through rose-tinted glasses. But in the moment, you're like, oh, this is hell. Oh. But yeah, it's tough. But believe it or not, we all do get through it. We all do. We're all here. We survived.
Well, they're still here and they've survived. So I tell you what, I do remember though with my son was I used to play classical music, because I played classical music to them when they were in the room, and that was one way of kind of definitely getting my son to sleep. I think it was less so with my daughter, but yeah, so that was really good. Just a bit of advice. I'm not an expert. Charmaine's the expert today. So in fact, so Charmaine, how did your own children sleep before you started the business?
Well, I'm a mother of one, and thankfully she was actually a really good sleeper. But one of the things I do recall, because I was a night nanny before I became a parent, one of the things that I was very aware of before I became a parent myself was the hard times that mums would give themselves if their babies weren't sleeping that well, or the way they would go about sleep training. And I always remember thinking, the quest to get a baby to sleep is really quite stressful. And I remember thinking, I'm not going to put this amount of stress on myself when I become a parent. I'm just going to figure out what's normal and go with the flow. And I found in doing that, my daughter was actually a pretty good sleeper from about 8 or 9 weeks. She wasn't perfect all the time, because children aren't perfect sleepers. They're not meant to be. But I found in going with the flow, and I think just being more accepting of the fact that she was a baby and she was going to need me at night, I think it just in general made life easier. And in turn, that just made sleep easier.
Okay, that's well. I also question kind of what's normal, because what's normal for one isn't kind of normal for everybody else, isn't it? So it's like you said, just going with the flow, really.
I mean, what's normal with babies and toddlers and preschoolers is that night waking at night is actually normal. Really inconvenient, very, very tiring, but it's normal. And unfortunately, we can't fix what's normal. We can manage it, shape it. Work towards something that's more sustainable, but if it's normal, you can't really fix it, can you?
Exactly. So How do you encourage parents, the work that you do, how do you encourage parents to take your advice and not slip into what may be considered like old habits or bad habits? Because each child's different as well, isn't it?
Every child is different, but when it comes to sleep, pretty much, sleep is something that's universal for all of us. We all need it. We all achieve it in different ways, but ultimately it's easier to achieve when we're calm, when we're relaxed, and when we have certain things in place that are unique to us. And so for me, it's not about making parents do anything. It's more about saying to them, okay, look at what's going on now, look at what you're doing now, and think about, is that supporting sleep or is that making sleep more difficult? And it's all about me sort of saying to them, like, there is no right or wrong way to sleep. First of all, if how your baby sleeps isn't a problem for you, then it's not a problem.
Yeah.
So it's all about working with every family and figuring out what works for them and putting in place habits, routines, and things that support that, rather than going and saying, you've got to do this and no, you mustn't do that, because every family is different. And, every person is unique in how we get calm and how we relax. So that's more about what my work is about, supporting rather than telling you what to do.
no finger wagging or anything like that. All support. All support. All right, thank you, Charmaine. Thanks very much. I'm going to pass you over to Susie, who's got a few.
Thanks. That was a really good introduction to, and it brings back lots of memories for me. My daughter didn't sleep. She didn't actually believe in sleep, I don't think. and my son, thankfully, was quite different. But what are your thoughts, Charmaine, on having baby in bed with you for the first few weeks or months when you are sort of sleep deprived zombie? What is that the good practice currently? Because when I was, a young mum, it was very much a case of you always had to put the baby back in the crib and they shouldn't sleep with you. So what's the current thinking?
First of all, I don't judge, because I was the kind of parent who would have my baby in bed with me. And at the time when my baby was a baby, she's 20 now, it was very much not the thing to do. So I did it because it made life easier for me. It made life easier for her. And I think in doing it and not giving myself a hard time about it, I think, again, she was very calm and relaxed. I was very calm and relaxed. And that's how sleep is the easiest thing to achieve, is by being calm, relaxed and supported. So there is no rules, so to speak, because we live in a world where we're always being told what to do, and we're always being told you should do this and you should do that, and there were guidelines to follow. But again, with every family, they will make their own rules. So I will say to a mum, like, okay, are you co-sleeping? Are you happy to do that? If the mum says yes, I'm like, okay, carry on. If that mum's like, I'm co-sleeping out of survival, it's not really something that I want to do, I want to move away from it, I will support her in working away from that. It's really not about me going in and saying, you've got to do this. I try to avoid that as much as possible. It's all about looking at the goals of the family and where they are at now, where they're trying to get to, and trying to get there in the fastest but simplest and easiest way possible. So it's really not about me saying you should do this or you should do that, or even sort of stipulating what the government says. I'll say, these are the guidelines. This is how you can minimize the risks. And this is the safest way to do it. What would you like to do next? That's more of my ammo. Because I think as parents, we're always being told what to do. They're always being said, this is advice, this is the guidelines. But some of the guidelines don't fall in line with the way in which a person might want to parent or want to meet the needs of their children. So it's about helping a parent to find a path that suits them and their children.
So would you say it's the level of instinct involved in that? Because this whole back to sleep thing, when I was a young mum, it was very much they had to be on their back, and then you went back in half an hour and the kid had rolled over and you went turn them back over like a sausage and they kept going back.
Very much so. Like I said, the whole SIDS guidelines is like back to sleep, feet to foot, and don't co-sleep. Whereas, we've now found that there's research that if mothers are exclusively breastfeeding, their instincts will kick in if they are co-sleeping, and they will instinctively put themselves in ways that will protect their babies when they're sleeping. So it's all about doing the research and doing what you feel comfortable with and safe with. And I always say to mums, if you are confident in something and you can get behind it, it will work. If you're trying something that you're not really 100% on board with and you're not sure about, it's going to fail. So pick something that you feel comfortable with and get behind it. And that's the kind of premise that I work with.
You mentioned breastfeeding then, because I mean, in your experience, do breastfed babies sleep better? And then you have the whole anxiety about, have you got enough milk? Is a child going to wait more times in the night because they haven't had enough? That's a whole other complicated thing, and to add the stress into new mothers' heads, isn't it?
It does, and it's a myth that breastfed babies wake more or sleep more, or babies and toddlers and preschoolers wake up for reasons more than nutrition. So if it was a case of the reason why your baby is waking up because they're hungry, then maybe a breastfed baby might wake more often, maybe a bottle fed might wake more often. It all depends. But babies wake up overnight, toddlers wake up overnight, preschoolers even wake up overnight for reasons other than hunger and nutrition.
That's very true. So in terms of the current approaches, I was going to ask you about traditional and modern approaches, but it seems to me that your approach is whatever works for you and whatever works for baby, and accepting that they're going to wake up whatever you do.
Yes and no. It's not so much that they're going to wake up whatever you do. It's kind of understanding what normal infant behavior is, and then looking at what your baby is doing and thinking, okay, is this behavior normal? If it is, what can we do to support the parents in coping with that? Because sometimes there's a scenario where a parent will come to me and be like, my baby's waking up all loads. I'm exhausted. I need them to sleep so that I can sleep. And a lot of the time, if what your baby is doing is normal, I might not be able to change what your baby does. I can help you understand that it's normal. I can help you find ways to cope with it so that you can manage it. So it might be a case of you adjusting your own sleep habits. It might be a case of you maybe changing the location where your baby sleeps or the way in which that you settle them. So there are lots of different factors that kind of come into working with parents and sleep, because as I mentioned before, I can't fix something that's normal, but there are times when something that's normal is really difficult to manage for that parent. And so sometimes, when you're in the trenches and you're really sleep deprived, you can't navigate, you can't think of a way to make things better. And that's where I will come in and be like, okay, well, you're sleep deprived, so I'm going to ask you to share with me your expertise in your baby. What do they like? What don't they like? What works? What doesn't? And then because I've got the expertise in sleep, I can say, well, this is how we can protect sleep this way. This is how we can help them to sleep, to wake less overnight. These are other things that we can try. And it's all about trial and error as well, because I don't know every client's baby. They know their baby really, really well. I don't know them, but I know sleep. So for me, it's all about me and the parent combining our expertise, their expertise in their baby, my expertise in sleep, and creating a plan of action going forward that way.
So how do you clone yourself? No, not really. I mean, one of the things you mentioned, just going back to co-sleeping for a minute, is that we haven't mentioned, but it's like a big question, is about how your relationship with your partner, and how does that impact on your marriage or your partnership if you have this thing that's literally wedged between you.
Well, it's all about communication, isn't it? Before you have your children, it is worthwhile having a conversation with your partner. Like, what are your parenting philosophies? How do you think we should discipline our children? If they're not sleeping, what are you going to be happy if we bed share? Do you want me to breastfeed? Do you want me to bottle feed? If I decide to breastfeed, are you okay with me being an extended breastfeeder? Or if I don't want to breastfeed, are you okay with that? These are conversations we need to be having with the fathers of our children before we even really get pregnant, let's be real.
Wow.
But sometimes we don't. And so if you haven't had those conversations till you're at the moment, it's worth having a conversation and finding out what the expectations are for both of you, and then compromising if they're not the same.
Absolutely. That's great advice. And I think generally in relationships, on the round, we should ask all these questions before we dive in to anything.
We often don't.
We don't, yeah.
I am guilty. So it's never a judgment of a parent when I say to them, like, did you discuss this beforehand? It's not judgment, because we all do. I didn't have these conversations before I became a parent. But, once you're in the trenches, once you're in the moment, it might be something you need to discuss, because it could drive a wedge between you and your partner. It could make things more challenging for everybody.
And it's definitely going to happen. You're going to have to deal with all those issues. So the last question for me is, and this ties into our next guest, who's going to talk about single parenthood, is there any advice for single parents particularly? Because obviously, if you've got two parents, you can maybe build your partner into the sleep routine. They can take over while you're sleeping. But if it's just you, then how do you manage? Any advice for single parents who are struggling with their kids' sleep?
My first advice to you is to find your village. Find and tap into your village, whether that's real or virtual. You need support. Even if you don't have somebody who's physically there that you can physically give your baby to so that you can get some respite, find friends, find mum friends. You know, there's lots of resources. There's Peanut, there's Instagram, but find other mothers or fathers, if you're a single dad, who are in the same boat as you or who can understand where you're at, so that you can communicate and you can, you know, share the parenting, share childcare with each other, or just be there to support each other when you need to vent, or there to congratulate with each other when something's going really well. But don't try to do it on your own. You really do need a village. And as it's cliche that we say that, you know, it takes a village to raise a child, but it does. And that village is there to support the mother and the child, not just the child. Mothers, we need support too. And we often forget that when a baby is born, if you're a first-time mum, you're birthing a mother as well. And that's something that's a whole new identity that can take some time to get used to.
Absolutely. Like when people say, what does mum think about this? And you think, actually, I've got a name.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, very much.
What happened to Susie? Where did Susie go? She doesn't
That's
exist
very
anymore.
true.
She's just mum. That's really, really helpful. And I think I saw a question come through. Maybe we can come back to that in a minute. But I'm going to pass you over to Sandra. Sandra's got a couple of questions as well for you.
Hi, Charmaine. Thank you.
Hi,
I'm listening intently, and what's making me laugh is I'm remembering the times where my son, he's 26 now, but when he was getting in the bed with me and my husband, when he was about 4 years old, we didn't give a damn. We just you know what? We were so tired. He could have slept anywhere. We didn't care.
Just let him.
So he'd come in the room and say, I can't sleep. Unfortunately, we had not had the conversation beforehand. He's just like, he's come in the room. I want to sleep. I can't sleep. And then we just say, get in the bed. And you know why? Because we were so exhausted. We didn't care. I remember my daughter driving her around as a baby.
Oh, wow.
She couldn't sleep, and I took her out in the car and just drove round and round, and she fell asleep. I didn't care. So I did whatever it took. This is what's making me laugh. I think my son once came in the room when he was probably about 9 and said, I can't sleep. So I said, Robert, do you want to go and sleep in his bed? And one of us went into my son's bed and he got into our bed. Just so we could sleep. We didn't care. So I do love your advice. It's about getting good sleep. Look, the question that Susie said had popped up. It says, do you get referrals from the health service or do clients contact you directly?
A bit of both. Most health visitors and GPs don't actually know that much about sleep. Their focus tends to be on feeding and child health, and their knowledge is quite limited. They often don't share that. So I do sometimes get referrals from health visitors, only ones who know of me personally. My mum, incidentally, before she retired, was a health visitor. And so if she ever had clients who were struggling with sleep, she'd often say, you know, get in touch. But yeah, you can get in touch with me directly. I try to share a lot of free information on my blog and on Instagram, and I'm getting up there with my YouTube page. I'm a bit inconsistent with it, if I'm honest. But
you are doing it, so don't give yourself credit.
Too busy sleeping.
I know. After 23 years of working nights, I kind of stopped working nights full time, and now that I can sleep, I sleep when I get the opportunity, which is a lot. So, so yeah.
In terms of soundly sleeping, so where are you going to go from now? What are you doing next? Are you doing like things like workshops? And because this is so important.
Yeah, I do. I've been doing a lot this year alone. I've been doing a lot of workshops. In lockdown, I did a lot of online workshops because I was getting a lot of messages from toddler mums actually, and preschooler mums who are saying like, my toddler's not sleeping. I don't know what to do. What can I do? And obviously, because I couldn't go out and do consultations in person, I was doing workshops and classes online, and I actually really enjoyed that. So that's kind of what I'm going to be doing going forward with Soundly Sleeping. It's going to be online classes and workshops, and in-person ones too, if people want that. But I like the online aspect because it means that if there are mums at home who haven't showered and are still in their pajamas and they need help and support with sleep, I can give it to them, and all they've got to do is just pick up their phones. So I actually really love the online aspect because it means I can reach more than one person in terms of,
I like that. And the other thing is they can share with each other as well, the parents. And the other thing is I just remember the days when I wasn't sleeping, you know, like when I was needing advice. I wish I'd had you, because I was really, there were times you were struggling, and I wish I'd had you around, where because there's no manual. You don't get a manual with parenthood. You don't get a manual on what to do. So
really,
I admit there were days where I didn't know what to do, and honestly, letting my son in the bed, it was just whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a child. I've trained in childcare. I've worked in early years for over 23 years. And even when I was a parent, and I remember coming home from hospital with my baby, having all this experience and knowledge with newborns and thinking, oh, what do I do with her? And I'm thinking, if I feel like this and I've got all this knowledge and experience, how would somebody who has no experience with children feel, or no support network feel? They must feel completely overwhelmed and terrified, quite frankly. So I really enjoy the work that I do, because it means I can support parents and show them what's normal, because a lot of parents don't have an understanding of what is actually normal for sleep.
I like that. And the other thing is, I wanted to mention, I like what you've just said, because when I was in hospital and I'd had my son, a couple of times I did have him in the bed with me, and obviously I got told off by the nurse, because I know what the guidelines are. But the thing is when he was in the bed with me, I was getting some sleep. Do you get what I mean? So I just had him. I was exhausted. And I know that mums out there follow the guidelines. So I'm not saying follow me, I'm saying follow the guidelines. But for me,
what I will say, just to caveat that, if you are a co-sleeping or a bed sharing mum and you are worried about whether or not you're doing it safely, do go along to the Lullaby Trust website. There are guidelines on that website, you can Google it, that will give you advice on how you can co-sleep and bed share safely. You can do that. So please don't feel like bed sharing is not safe. You can do it safely.
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, because I had Zach on, my son is called Zach, and I had him in my arm. The nurse walked past him. Could you please put your child in, in its crib, whatever. And when she'd gone, I felt really bad, because I said to my husband, I just had 5 minutes of sleep there, and she wants me to move him, because obviously in your arm he was comfortable and then was happy to sleep. So I do like that. But are there any? I've got one question. Who inspires you? Like in terms of anything, who inspired you to do this in the first place?
What, to become a night nanny, or to just venture out in business?
In terms of the night nanny, what was it that inspired you to do that? And was there something that made you really want to do it?
Do you know what? I fell into it by accident, and I always really loved babies. Like I love children in general, but babies are my favorite, like newborns. And so it's something that I fell into by accident, but because I was helping and supporting mums in that really crucial and pivotal and really intimate time when you transition from being a pregnant woman to a mother. And I really loved going in and giving mums the opportunity to catch up on sleep and saying to them, you're doing really well. This is really hard. You're not rubbish at it, because I felt this way when I was a mum, and look at the knowledge and experience that I've got. And for me, empowering those mums and saying to them, you're doing a great job, keep at it, was massively rewarding, because for me, the sleep deprivation was the biggest aspect of parenting that made me question myself and made me think, am I doing this right? I'm a terrible mom, the guilt and all of that stuff. And sleep deprivation can really make you irritable, clumsy, and emotional. And that's a time when when you're first becoming a mum, that's the time when you're really doubting and second guessing yourself. So for me, going in and supporting and empowering those mums and giving them the opportunity to catch up on rest was really rewarding for me. I loved it.
Charmaine, I was going to say, Charmaine, there's nothing by accident. It was divine intervention.
Yeah, it was definitely meant to be. Listen, Charmaine, thank you very much for everything you've said. I wish I had you years ago. Obviously, my kids are growing up now, still keeping me awake, obviously giving me a headache and making me with the
worry. In other ways,
not sleeping in bed anymore, Sandra, are they?
So I really appreciate everything you've said. We're going to put you behind the scenes. We're going to say thank you very much, but bring you back out again.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for your time. It's really interesting. Thank you very much. And now we are going to bring on our next guest. That was so interesting, wasn't it? Really, I'm to move myself over so I'm in the wrong position. Hang on. Laptop. That was really interesting, wasn't it? That was
I feel more comfortable having a baby now, but obviously Mother Nature's kind of given that up for me. But just having Charmaine around.
Yeah. Well, I like Charmaine saying I like babies. I was just about to shout out, I do like babies, but I prefer other people's. So I was about to
That's why we have a second time chance when we become grandmothers.
Yeah, the grandparent thing.
Get all the benefit of baby time and then hand it back.
And then you go.
That's the best bit, isn't it?
I love it. Definitely. Well, listen, we're going to bring on Vicky, because Vicky is part of the Victorian and Income Foundation for Single Parents. and we've invited her to our Mothering Sunday because we want to hear about single parents as well. So can we welcome Vicky to the show? Our director's doing it right. He's doing such a good job.
Vicky.
Hello, Vicky. Welcome.
Good to see you.
Thank you so much.
She's looking fab. She's looking
Yeah.
Happy Mother's Day to you, and welcome to the show. And we're really happy to have you here.
Thank you. Same to you guys.
Oh, thank you. I'm going to just dive straight in. My first question to you is, what does it mean being a mum? What does it mean? You know, what is it? Does it being a mum? What does it mean to you?
A mother is a very special person. There's a lot of mother about, but are you that special mother that is there through thick and thin when something happens and you say, no matter what happens, I'm going to stick it. I'm going to be there for my kids. I'm going to do everything that I'm supposed to do. That is a mother, and that is the people I'm celebrating today.
It's a fabulous answer. I really like that. That just says it all, doesn't it? Look, Vicky, I obviously know you. I know you've done a great job as a mom. You've got fabulous children, a famous rapper. You've got daughters that are in top jobs. You name, and I mean exactly what I'm saying. And I've seen Lavinia, your daughter-in-law. They're all doing so very, very well. And obviously, thanks to you, they're a credit to you. But you were a single mom yourself at a certain stage. So how? I know it didn't start off like that, but tell us all about what it was like. Life was like for you when you were a single mom.
Well, to cut it short, the thing is, when you get married, you think that's the you've got into a place where that's it. That's your problems are over. It's just the beginning of your problems. And the thing is, being a single parent, the first thing is, if you don't communicate, it's a problem. Because the thing is, I didn't know that I could ever be a single parent for the sort of person I am. But along the journey, I got divorced. You know, my ex went to work in Africa. I have to say this is true. I'm not saying it to bluff. I'm saying it for people to love, because we people like the Africans, they like to hide. They don't like to say their story. My story, I'm going to say it the way it is. And if one person can learn from it, if one person can hold on to it, it will be better for me. So the thing is, I got married, and what happened? He went to Africa to work and never turned up, came back. Now I've left with kids age 5 and 4 to bring up. I didn't know where to turn to. And then again, in our community, we like to sort of like stigmatized. If you are a single parent, they stigmatize you. And I realized that I'm being stigmatized. And a lot of people that I used to have in quotes in my house, feeding them, doing things to them, didn't support me. It was like, how she's divorced now, or she's a single parent now, so I cannot attach myself to her. Or the husband will say, I would not like my wife to go and attach themselves to her. So it becomes an issue. But the thing is, I decided you need to take that decision. I will stand by my children. I will be there for my children. So when you walk out of your children, you walk out of yourself. And I'm glad what I did. It wasn't an easy road. It was so difficult because I didn't have help, and I didn't even know that I could go to social services. I mean, I think is the where you collect money or for help and they give it to you. I didn't know that. But a lot of people who knew me knew where I could go and get help. So there are some things that I did that if I say it on this platform, I will still say the same, is that I used to take my kids and keep them in the car and work and go do care work, go in, come out, look after them. It was so difficult. But God with me, today, I'm laughing. Today, I'm smiling. So when he left, it wasn't easy, but I decided that I am not going to stay down. I'm going to do something about myself, because it is when he left, I realized that I had so many talents. My talent that I have was already inside. I had to birth a lot of talent. And one of these talents that I had was to do hair, braids, was to do decor, work with the Holloway prison as a counselor. Being at the as a counselor, what happened was I went back to Africa to ask him, why are you coming back? And he looked at me and said to me, you don't have a degree. You don't have a degree. So I could not communicate with you. But I said, I have a degree. He said, what degree? I said, I have 3 kids for you. And that's my degree. But he did not understand. So when I came back to UK, I fainted at Heathrow Airport. I was taken to the hospital. My doctor said to me, you need counseling. And that's why when I went for counseling, I said, I could do this job. I became a counselor. Counseling for Holloway Prison. I opened a shop in Luton, one of the best shops in Luton. I traveled all over half of the world. I did travel. You see, when somebody leaves you, what you do is stop cursing, because I will never ever disregard him in any shape or form. It was a blessing in disguise. Some people don't realize that if somebody walks away from you, stop pulling that person back. Look at yourself and focus on what you can do. And that's what I did up till now.
That is a journey, Vicky. I pat you on the back as well. And I know about the stigma in terms of the single parent, because when I had my daughter at first, I'm telling it as it is, I was a single parent at the time. And even my own mum, I love her dearly. It was, her cultural background didn't want anyone to know that I wasn't married. Even when I was going to church to get her baptized, christened, my mum was, I don't want the vicar to know that you're not married. It was only because my mum was old fashioned. And her attitude has changed now. She's not, it didn't matter. She loved Sasha, but she was just sort of worried about what people were going to think. So may I ask you very quickly, do you think people's attitude has changed now? Has it got better in terms, because there's many women out there, parents, be you famous, be you not famous. Do you think people's attitude is now better?
I think because most of the time what people are doing are creating awareness. I'm really on the platform creating this awareness. You don't need to be negative in the things that you do. You need to be very careful how you approach certain things in your life, because the thing is, you don't even know what that person is going through. We have to be very careful what we do. A lot of time people, what they do is they look at you, they size you up. There's some people who are good at sizing people, but most of the time they get it wrong. Because sometimes if someone would look at me and say, look, what does she think she has? Look at she, because she owns this, she owns that. It's not about that. The thing about you is that love somebody. Show that person that you love. Be kind to people. It doesn't take you anything to be kind to people. I would love people then to be kind to me. I would love someone to come and say, Vicky, do you need help? Do you need this? But most of the time, I would say 90% of the time, people just put you down. It is so bad. It is so not good for you to look at somebody and start to judge that person, because that person, you don't know, you are not wearing that person's shoes at all. And the thing that I found out after my divorce, I used to call him and say, listen, the kids are going to school on Monday. And because his girlfriend was there, the girlfriend would insult me and say, you've just called us 6 o'clock in the morning. What do you think you're doing? When people allow people to come into their home and tell them where to put their shoes, where to put their bed, they've sold their birthright. There is a place where you have that authority to say yes and to say no. But in life, you must be somebody. Let your yes be yes and your no be no, and stand on a solid ground. Because the thing is, you can't be everywhere. You can't do so many things at the same time. I've been in that situation, but it's not helping me. But what I'm saying is that people are good at criticizing. I went through that stigma for such a long time. And that is why I'm looking at people now, single parent. I would not like anyone to stigmatize them, because you don't know what they went through. And I want them, whatever the situation or relationship you are in your home right now, you need to talk to somebody. You need to talk to the right person, because you might take your story to someone and that will increase that will not make it good for you. So you need to know the right people to tell any secret that you have or anything that is bothering you. You must tell the right person. You must be able to size the right person to talk to. Very, very important.
That's a very good answer. Thank you very much. I wish I could speak to you all afternoon. And just one other thing I wanted to say is that I was once told by somebody that I had everything, and I asked the person the question very quickly. I said, "May I ask what is everything?" That is all I said to the person. We're going to talk to you obviously again at the end, but I'm going to pass you over to Angela. I know that she's got loads of questions to ask you. Thank you, Vicky. It's been great.
Thank you, Sandra. Vicky, Victoria, Vicky. Sorry.
Yeah, short Vicky.
Yeah. You know, you said something that really resonated with me. You said you went out and worked and you left your children in the car. And that really touched me. It actually makes me feel quite emotional now because I worked for a charity when I was living in Nottingham, but I've got 2 children. One of them I co-parented with their father, 2 different fathers. Not making any judgments against anybody else, but that I'm talking the truth now for me. And I remember having to go to work. Because if I didn't go to work, I didn't get paid. I was actually doing my training as a therapist. So I needed to kind of work. And my children were 10 and 3. And I was the only person in the organization that actually had children of a young age. And I remember parking the car across the road with my children, left food in the car with them and their toys and something to play with while I was at work across the road. And I remember that as a single parent thinking, no support around me because I wasn't from Nottingham. I couldn't afford childcare, but those things that I had to do in order to kind of just get by, I can look back now and think they're 25 and 18 now, and bless them. They're just amazing children, and they're kind of saying to me, "Mum, you're an amazing mum." So I feel credited by that. But in the moment when you're going through stuff like that, it's really tough.
Yes, it is.
About it. So thank you for sharing what you've shared already. But
yes.
You've amazing that you've actually set up the foundation for single parents. What were you hoping to achieve when you thought about doing that?
Why I set up this foundation was to be there for the single parents, to create awareness that there's a lot of things we can do. Because sometimes when you are in trouble or when you're going through stuff, what you do is you forget. You just forget. You need that somebody to come in and say something to lift you up. And a lot of people don't do that. Because when something happens to you, you're depressed, the first thing is, look at her. That's why the man left. Look at her. She's so miserable. Look at her. There's something wrong with her. Why do we have, as fellow human beings, do this to people? Why do we want to look at situation? Don't look at the good part. I wonder if somebody could look at me then and say to Vicky, you used to feed us in your house. We used to remember the birthday you did to do for your kids, and we would invite everybody. Why do we remember the bad things?
Yeah.
Why do we always remember the negative things? No, it shouldn't be that way. We're not here. We are here on earth for a short period of time. I just want to show love, but let's stand on the truth. The truth is you are a single parent. The truth is, for me to do this single parent, I'm looking, especially in Africa, it's a culture thing. If you leave your husband's home, it's like, oh, look at her. She's so stupid. She's so dumb. How could she leave such a man like that? But you're dying. You are actually dying. You've been beaten. You've been doing things that they're not supposed to do. And then when you leave, it becomes an issue. Even your mother will send you back to the man, because what he's doing is giving you little change to put in your pocket, and you would rather die there when there is an issue. So I decided to open this foundation to create awareness, to help the single parent and a way forward to things. Because don't sit back and be thinking, just think that, oh, he's gone, I can't do anything. No. Remember, you were not born with that man. Remember, you were not. So what we want to do is that we want to make sure we educate you so that you can equip yourself and ready to move forward. And that is what Victorine Dickum Foundation stands for. Don't stand at the same place where creepy curry will be crawling on your body. Take that mantle. No matter what has happened to you, God will help you. But you need to do your own part while He does His own part. You have to keep moving. You have to keep being positive. Stay focused and do what you have to do. If it's selling onion, if it is selling tomato, whatever you could do to feed your kids, do it. And that's what I want to do to help these women stand up on their own 2 feet.
Wow, Victoria, I've got to salute you on that. That sounded like you were preaching then, and I'm just thinking, I could hear every word that you were saying as a very powerful, very powerful. What's been the response to the foundation? And I've also understand as well that you've taken the foundation to Cameroon. So
Yes.
what has been the response to the foundation, very quickly?
You know, when I got to Cameroon, that was 4 years ago. I started it in a town called Limbe. When I got to Cameroon, I was shocked. I had 250 women tenders on that day, creating for me to talk to them. The main thing is, when I look at this population, there is something about it. Because what happened is that we have lost our self-esteem completely, from the family, from the friends, you name it, and you are on your own. So how do you pick up? So when 250 people turn up on that day, and believe you me, the money is from my pocket. Their friends will help, but I had to feed them. But I had to impact them with this knowledge, to tell them that there is a way forward. You don't need to sit down there and be effing and blinding. You need to do something for yourself. I had to encourage them, to let them know, if I could do it, you can also do it. And believe you me, I've impacted a lot of people's life. I've been to Cameroon so many times, and people are calling me to say, Mama, the money you gave me, if it's 50 pounds, I remember Sandra blessing me with 30 pounds. I took it there. 30 pounds in Cameroon is 25,000 francs in Cameroon. You can start up a little business. I say, empower yourself, because when depending on a man or depending on somebody, it becomes an issue. That is my focus, and I keep doing that. I have seen progress, huge progress, because now they are independent. You give them a little money of 30 pounds, they can start up a bakery. And what I do is I open an empowerment center where I employ people to go in and teach them to go in and how to manage their finances, because there's no point you giving money to people without impacting them. You have to do that. So this training center is for them to go there and make sure they keep to time, and make sure, because before I give you something, you have to show respect. You have to show that you are able to do it. So that's why we're doing it right now.
Wow. Vicky, that's just absolutely amazing. I would love to come and support the foundation that you have in Cameroon at some point and offer some services. Knowing from my own personal experience, I would love to do that. But thank you so much for sharing what you're sharing. And going back to what Sandra said, I could talk to you all day. There's a lot that I could that resonates with me. So, but in the meantime, with time running short, I'm just going to pass you over to Susie, who's got a few more questions for you before we finish off for today.
I have. Hello, Vicky. It's been a pleasure and a joy to listen to you. Unlike many people watching, listening today, I know I too have been a single parent, and it's really sobering to remember what we've had to go through to achieve anything at all. And one of my memories talking to you today is whilst working, my daughter was at a nursery near where I used to work, and the childminder called me up during the day to say that she had a fever, and I had to go and pick her up from the childminders. But I was in the middle of a project and I had a client meeting in the afternoon, and there was nobody else. I didn't have any family around, and obviously no husband. I don't have siblings, so it was literally just me. So I went to pick her up, and I was driving around with my sick child in the car. And then the lunch hour passed, and then my boss called me Where are you? Are you coming back? You've been gone for an hour and 20 minutes. So I took my daughter back to the childminders, although everything in me said to just take her and go home. But I knew I had to go back to work because I had to hold on to the job. And, you know, it's a similar story. And I think everyone who's been in that situation has got a story like that when they feel very, very alone and they have to go against their mother instinct to provide, you know, so you have to almost split yourself in two. And your mother instinct is to stay and care for your child, but your provider instinct means you have to go back to work. And I really, that resonates with me as well. And I think that, you know, for me, the single parent journey was difficult, but it helps me in what I do today. Because it helps give a level of understanding and compassion to the families and young people I speak to in my work. And I think if you grow as a person and you've been through that difficulty, in my view, it makes your heart a bit bigger.
Yes.
And that helps you with your next step in whatever you are called to do. So I think your work is very powerful. And I think the work in Cameroon is particularly powerful because in those civilizations and that culture, many generations ago, the women were the leaders of the community. They didn't need the male, you say a couple of pence in your pocket. We didn't need the male to make us feel whole. We could still manage everything with our sisters and our aunties. We had a structure.
Yes.
We had the village.
And
what we're doing now in 2022, we realize as women and as Black women, we have to rebuild that village. As Charmaine was saying, we had it all. You know, if it wasn't you as a single parent, there was always an auntie or a grandmother or, you know, somebody to help you raise your child. But because we're living in this society, we don't have that infrastructure. And I think that's why it's so difficult and we struggle so much as single parents, you know, away from our traditional structure because we don't have those people around us. And I think what you're doing is reminding those women that they are powerful.
Yes, absolutely.
And reminding them of their history. And what it means to be a woman and an African woman.
Yes.
And how rather than be against each other, you're telling them that we need to support each other as women, as Black women, as African women.
Yes.
So that message is so strong. So, you know, sending you lots of love from myself and from everybody here for your fantastic work. And long may it continue.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you.
So you're very welcome. I don't have any other questions. I'm aware that we want to you know, bring Charmaine back into the room. And but I think if you had to say one lasting thing to single parents, both here and everywhere in the diaspora, what would your one lasting message be to those women?
There will always be a problem somewhere. It's how you handle that problem that will make you stronger. Falling down is not staying down. And the thing is, a special message to the single parent, because what they've done is a lot of people I've spoken to, they're saying they're married to Jesus. No, you're not married to Jesus. What is like inside you, you're not healed yet. So you can get married again. You can move on, do so many things. If I could do it. So when I meet single parent, they put that wall in front of them and say, because of that situation, never again. No, you need a man's touch. But what you need to do is understand yourself, love yourself. Don't expect love from someone when you don't love yourself. You wouldn't understand it. So I'm saying to all single parents, there is life. And the life is here, and you want to live that life. Stop yourself from doing things because you don't want to, because someone has let you down. It will always happen, because even Jesus Christ did not promise us a smooth sailing, that everything is going to be smooth, everything is going to be fine. No, you need to wake up and do things to make you happy. When you know yourself, you will be happy. That's all I could say for everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you. Many blessings. Thank you so much for sharing your words with us today. It's been absolutely riveting to listen to you.
Thank you very much.
Great, yeah, really great, Vicky. That's why I'm good friends with Vicky. She's just my inspiration. I need her at my bedside every morning saying things to me. Should we bring on Charmaine and
Yes.
get together as women?
Hi, Charmaine. Welcome back.
Hey.
Hello, Charmaine.
Hi, Victoria.
Charmaine, what did you make of Vicky's? You are so big. You have 3 names.
I loved her passion. I loved the message about self-love and, just, tapping into your innate gifts and powers and talents, because we all have them. But sometimes when we are experiencing the breakdown of a relationship, it can make you kind of doubt your worth and question yourself, like, am I not good enough? What's wrong with me? So I really sort of resonated with the whole self-love vibe. Love that.
Yeah, definitely.
I love what you said too. I just want to, unless they're going to say something else, I want to say, from those children that he left, 8, 5, and 4, they are 35, 32, and 31. And Loom, the last daughter of mine, is a manager. She worked with Harrods. And my eldest daughter, who is 35, is the manager of social services dealing with children in Dagenham. And my son is a rapper. So
he's a rapper. Great
there
guy.
we go. There we go.
They've done so well.
There we go.
Amazing.
And they love me. And they love me to be.
She's spoiled.
They love me so much.
She's spoiled. I think the necklace you're wearing, I'm sure, is what they
love me so much.
She's absolutely spoiled.
I know, it's true, and it's true. What I say, sometimes we get not ridicule, but we get people have an image of single parents that they can't bring their children up and by themselves because you need 2 parents. We've had to be I'm not going to class myself as being the father of my children, playing the father role of my children, because I do think children do need both male and female figures in order for them to have a sense of themselves and have a balance growing up as well. So as I said, I co-parented one of my children, both children, but in different ways. But I have to say that there were times, I'm gonna admit this quite openly as well. There were times when I thought I wouldn't even have been here, and neither would have been my children, because it was so hard. But I recognized, like you said, there's certain people that stepped in and kind of gave me a good word, and there were other people surrounded, that I made contact with in Nottingham. Like I said, I wasn't from Nottingham, so I had to build up a new network of people to kind of support me. But just through those people, I can sit here today and think I'm so proud that I am still here, and I've been able to bring up my children.
Yes.
So, Vicky, really good to hear.
Yes.
We're running out of time, but very quickly, Charmaine and Vicky, both of you, what are you doing for the rest of the day? It is Mothering Sunday. In a very short 10 seconds, what are you doing today, Charmaine?
My daughter is coming from London, and we're having lunch together, and that is good. That is good.
Enjoy your lunch with your daughter. I hope you have a really good day. And what about you, Charmaine, as well?
My daughter's at work, and when she gets back, we're gonna watch the rest of Top Boy. She got me into Top Boy on Netflix, so we're gonna
love Top Boy. Love it. I haven't watched it yet. I haven't watched this new series yet. Love it though. Love that show.
I love it.
Awesome. Have a lovely day. And it's been, what wonderful women. What a wonderful way to start our Mother's Day with our families, by us talking together and sharing our experiences and sharing it on a platform that other women will listen to, and it will touch, and it will magnify and amplify. So that in itself is a massive blessing and a fantastic way to start Mother's Day. So
definitely.
We've
got 1 minute left. It was just to say that our next show will be on the 24th of April, Sunday the 24th, and it's going to be about sort of health and well-being. We've got some great guests coming. So it even links in with what we're talking about today. Everything we talk about is health and it's well-being. Any final words from you guys, from the ladies above, Angela and Susie? Any final word? We've got about 10 seconds.
just to say thank you, and you're amazing, and we're inspirational, and let's just keep that work going.
And do share the video. Do share the video. So spread the word. Send the video when it goes up on YouTube with your friends and family, just to build the Women's LIK. We've got so many good messages. So please do share. And thank you very much.
Thank you.
Definitely. So happy Mother's Day to everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day. Stay safe. Charmaine and Vicky, thank you very much for coming on the show. You've been fabulous, and we will have to meet again because I think we need more time to chat. But
Thank you for having me.
Definitely. You're very welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Very
Stay
welcome.
safe. No, you're
Take
very
care.
welcome.
Take care all.
Can you
Have a
stay on
lovely
again,
Sunday.
please?
And just stay online.